And welcome to Getting Help from Uncle Sam. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we had snow in Alabama, and everybody thought, oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end. Well, it could have been coming to an end if you weren't prepared. So today, to see how we can be prepared for not only for snow, but any emergency, Brian Hastings, and you are the director of the Alabama Emergency Management Agency.
Yes, sir.
You get all that on a card?
Yeah, I do. Would you like one?
Yeah. Starts in the front, wraps around the back.
That's right.
But, Brian, what we were talking about, the fact is that, obviously you are over the whole state, but in the state there are smaller offices that can take care of things more on a local basis.
Absolutely. Just to give you a kind of a 25,000-foot view and going down, we're the central coordinating agency for all state agencies, so that when we think that something's going to exceed county and mutual aid and a region's capability, then we try to identify those gaps. The counties let us know what those gaps are, and then we put our team together, of ALEA, LDOT, Department of Human Resources, it could be forestry, public health, and we try to fill those gaps to make the counties successful. So it's a state county effort, but we also are very sensitive that I can tell counties what to do, but then they don't have to listen. We don't own them.
Right.
And so they are so important. They're the ones on the front lines that know their community, have the plows, have the salt, have the first responders, have the mechanisms to really care and feed for the population. So we want to know what they can and can't do, and then build a team from Alabama and sometimes outside of Alabama or in the federal government to plug in and assist them. So kudos to all the members of the emergency management family, from individuals being prepared, local municipalities, counties, officials, and county directors of emergency management agencies, and then the state partners that work together to protect Alabama.
And the county EMAs, the interface with basically the county commission and normally the mayors of those areas.
That is a true statement. And then EMA directors, they can be either elected or appointed. So there's a different flavor depending on what part of Alabama you're from.
So that's interesting, because if they don't do their job, then it's very difficult for you to help them. The nice thing about Alabama is that I love the fact that our county EMA personnel, they understand. It's like understanding your neighborhood. So they're on the front line. They know what they're dealing with in each individual county, and then if they do their job, they only have to call on you if there's something that you need to come in and reinforce or provide. And you've got a great team. You're very fortunate to have come into a great team of workers.
Absolutely. And so some folks will say, well, don't you have people out in the counties? And I say, well, yes, but it's one per division. We have 7 divisions. And that one person connects with all those county directors and the locals. So that's how we get a sense of, and I like to get out and visit people too, is the capabilities of those counties, because not all counties were made equally. There's Tuscaloosa, and there's Opelika, and then you have Wilcox and Dallas and some of the other counties that don't have the economic growth that others do. So the capabilities of counties are a little bit different. But if one county fails, Alabama fails.
Yes.
And so we have to be in this together to make sure that it's one team, one fight, and where people need help, we're willing to assist.
So what are you anticipating us having to deal with?
We have the potential for tornadoes, but really our tornado season is March, April, May. And then when that ends, it goes right into hurricane season. And then when that ends, it goes right into season.
Busy. You're a busy man.
So it really never ends. And so the other thing I'd like to get across is emergency management is kind of a mindset. It's not a, oops, something's coming up, let's get ready for this. It really should be, you should be ready for everything. And whether it's our children asking us questions like, hey Dad, if there's a fire, how are we gonna get out of the top floor? Or hey Dad, what are we gonna do? And in my case, the guinea pigs and the dogs if a tornado strikes. Because we gotta save the family.
Amen.
And so identifying places in your house that are good structures that you can take the family, interior, no glass, or if you have a tornado structure in tornado season is good. We talked a little bit earlier about having radios, being connected, getting those warnings, because if you don't know, then you can't act. That's part of the preparedness part of this. In this day and age where we have smartphones and radios, and the federal government is putting a lot of money into connecting emergency messaging with citizenry,
Absolutely.
we have an obligation as citizens to connect to those messages to save ourselves and our surrounding communities and mitigate damages, but also to help others connect to those messages too.
Well, would you agree that at any time, I think that our mindset, we're generally just very complacent and everything works fine. The electricity may be out for I might miss 2 programs or whatever. But you know what? That is not the reality, Brian. The reality is that we could look at a grid shut down for a month. These things are possible. And I personally used to drive around, I would get on empty, walk almost before I put gas in my car. I'm serious. I don't do that anymore. I keep my car close to, you know, I don't get down more than about 1/4 of a tank. I also have got plenty of water in my house, because all of these things that we think are never going to happen to us,
Can happen.
I think we need to wake up and realize that it can happen to us.
That's true, and it only takes pennies to build a small kit or have that mentality
it.
of thinking. You don't have to
That's
worry
right.
about it. It shouldn't consume your daily activities.
Nope.
But if something happens and you've thought about it, it's
Go
where
to
that
it.
you start thinking without thinking.
That's
it's just
right.
habit pattern.
That's right.
And you don't worry or panic, because through education and training, you've reduced that level of anxiety. You're a sense of calm within the storm, and you just mobilize, you know, whether it's a family, people behind you to,
Right.
this is what we need to do, here are the steps to get there, and you just execute the plan.
Have
Great.
a plan B and be prepared.
And thank you so much for what you're doing and all that you're going to do. And for our audience, you're truly seeing a man for all seasons.
Absolutely.
And just remember this, as Brian said, make sure that you're prepared. You've got all the help you need in the state of Alabama. We'll be right back right after this.